I used to believe life worked in quiet, simple ways. That if you were good, if you were loyal, if you kept your head down and made the right choices, things would fall into place. Like they promised when you were little. But life doesn't follow the rules they teach you. My name is Sophie Mercer. And this is the story of how my marriage, the life I built for 12 years, crumbled like cheap plaster. And how I never saw it coming. Brian and I met in college. He wasn't the loud one at parties, not the life of the room. He was stable.
Steady. Kind.
He wore soft sweaters and smelled like cedar. He held doors open and never forgot birthdays. I fell for that quiet safety. After my chaotic childhood, drunk father, absent mother, I wanted boring. I wanted normal. Brian gave me that. For 12 years, we lived in our little two-story in the suburbs outside Columbus. I made pancakes on Sundays.
He mowed the lawn.
I ran the PDA bake sale. He paid the mortgage. We weren't passionate like the movies, but we were real.
Solid.
Or so I thought. Looking back, the signs were there. But when you don't want to see something, you don't. He started working later. Not much at first. An hour here, 2 hours there. Big project at work, he'd text. Running behind on inventory, he'd mutter over dinner, fork paused halfway to his mouth. I believed him. And then there was Lily Crane. I remember the first time he mentioned her. New girl in the office, he said, buttering toast one Saturday. 25. Fresh out of some fancy online MBA. Eager. Smart. Keeps me organized. I laughed. Sounds like you finally got someone who can run circles around you. He smirked. Probably. But then her name kept coming up. Lily said this. Lily booked that. Lily saved the budget meeting. Lily fixed the client mess. I teased him at first. If you talk about her anymore, I'll get jealous. His face stiffened. Like a mask cracking. Don't be ridiculous, sophomore. Ridiculous. I pushed it down. What else could I do? After 12 years, you trust your husband, right? But then the late nights turned into weekends. He missed our anniversary dinner. Client crisis, babe, can't get out of it. But he smelled like hotel soap when he came home. Like a place he'd stayed overnight, not an office he'd worked late in. I kept telling myself, don't be paranoid. You've got no proof. He's stressed. You're stressed. It's nothing. Until that Thursday night. I was at my sister's helping with her twins when she said, why don't you surprise him with dinner? You look like you need some time alone together. I nodded, smiling like it was a good idea. I wish I hadn't. I came home early, arms full of Thai takeout and hope, thinking maybe this was the fix. A small spark in our quiet life. But the house wasn't quiet. Laughter. From the kitchen. A soft giggle I didn't recognize. High, flirtatious. And his voice, low and warm in a way I hadn't heard in months. I stepped into the kitchen. And there they were. Her long legs bare, perched on my granite countertop. My countertop. Her blouse half open. His hand sliding up her thigh like he'd done to me once, long ago. They didn't see me at first. When they did, he didn't even jump. Or stumble. Or look guilty. He looked bored. Guess it's time, he said softly, sliding his hand off her knee. I'm done, Sophie. I can't do this anymore. This life.
It's dead.
Lily makes me feel alive. Lily glanced at me like I was a waitress who'd interrupted dessert. I couldn't speak. My heart thudded so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Like a nightmare where you scream and nothing happens. The takeout bag slid from my fingers. Plastic boxes split open on the tile. Pad thai, sesame chicken, egg rolls. All mixing into a greasy mess at their feet. I made this life for you, I whispered. I gave you everything. I trusted you. His face twisted into something cold. Ugly. And that's the problem, sophomore. I didn't want everything. I wanted more. Lily's got ambition.
Drive.
Fun. You just wanted safe. A tear slid down my cheek. But inside, deep, dark, something else stirred. Something hot. Like a coal burning. He took Lily's hand and walked past me like I was furniture. "I'll come for my things tomorrow," he said. "Try not to make this messy."
Messy.
He had no idea. I stood in the ruined kitchen, shaking. Not because I was broken, because I was awake. And he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. I woke up the next morning on the living room couch, stiff and cold under a scratchy throw blanket. The house was silent except for the tick-tick of the old wall clock in the hallway. I hadn't meant to fall asleep there. But after last night, seeing Brian's hand slide up Lily Crane's leg in my kitchen, hearing him say he felt alive because of her, sleep didn't feel safe in our bed. My bed, I reminded myself. The smell of pad thai still lingered in the air. The greasy takeout mess still sat on the floor, half smeared from when I'd stepped on it in a daze. But I couldn't clean it yet.
Not today.
I sat up slowly. My whole body felt bruised, like grief had taken fists to every part of me. But the weird thing was, somewhere beneath the nausea and the shaking, something else sat in my chest. Not heartbreak. Not fear. Anger.
Hot.
Sharp. Focused like a needle. For 12 years, I was the steady wife. The woman who made excuses.
Who trusted.
Who stayed up folding laundry at midnight while he worked late in some hotel with his secretary. That Sophie was gone. I showered. Dressed in real clothes. No more pajamas, no robe. I put on dark jeans and a crisp button-down shirt, clothes I hadn't worn since the last time we'd gone to his work event, the one where Lily smiled at me like I was the old, clueless wife. She knew then. They both did. My phone buzzed. A text from Brian. "I'll come by later for my things. Keep it civil, sophomore." Civil. I wanted to laugh. Or scream. But I did neither. Instead, I opened my laptop. For the first time in years, I signed into the joint account, the one we were both supposed to use only for household expenses. The one he always insisted on managing because it's easier if I handle it, babe. I clicked.
Gone.
Almost $42,000 missing. Transferred in chunks over the past 6 months. Right under my nose. Labeled consulting setup and temporary account holding and other polite lies. My throat closed tight. I gripped the edge of the desk until my fingers ached. He'd been stealing from me. Not just my dignity. Not just our marriage. Our future. My security. My half. And that's when I saw the paper. It was stuffed behind the drawer of his old office desk. Half crumpled, yellowed at the edges. An invoice. Mercer Crane Consulting, LLC. Filing fee paid. Date. 3 months ago. Officers, Brian Mercer, Lily Crane. My vision blurred. I blinked hard. They weren't just screwing around. They'd started a business. Together. A whole new life. While I folded his shirts and paid the gas bill, he left me for his secretary and stole my money to do it. I thought the humiliation last night was the end. But this was the beginning. I felt it bloom in my chest.
Cold. Calm.
Steady. He didn't just break my heart. He made a mistake. And now I would make mine. I picked up my phone. Scrolled until I found his name. Jared Brooks. Old college friend. Finance major. Corporate investigator. The one who used to brag at reunions about exposing CEOs for fraud and tax evasion. I hesitated. My thumb hovered. What if this was too far? What if this made me like them? Then I remembered his voice last night. "Try not to make this messy." I pressed call. "Sophie." Jared's warm, familiar voice. "Been years." "What's up?" "Jared, I need a favor. A big one."
Pause.
"Is this about Brian Mercer?" His voice dropped. I swallowed hard.
"Yeah."
"And Lily Crane. They started something. I think they used our money to fund it. I think they stole from me." A soft whistle. "You want me to dig?" I stared at the computer screen. At their new company name, glowing like poison. "Dig deep," I said quietly. "I want everything. Consider it done."
"Give me a week."
"Maybe 2. I'll keep it quiet." I hung up and sat back, heart pounding like thunder. Brian thought he'd left behind the perfect wife. The quiet wife. The safe wife. But the safe wife was gone. And this Sophie Mercer? She was going to burn his shiny new life to the ground. That night, when he came to collect his things, smug, whistling under his breath, I smiled.
Sweet. Come.
Like the wife he thought he'd broken. You can have the TV, I said lightly, and the old desk. But not the couch. It was mine before you.
He smirked. Fine.
I'll get better stuff with Lily anyway. I smiled wider. I'm sure you will. He left, tossing his boxes into his truck, thinking he'd won. But as he drove away, I stood in the doorway and watched. Because Jared was already digging. And Brian Mercer was already drowning. He just didn't know it yet. 3 weeks. That's how long it took Jared to gather everything. I thought waiting would kill me. Every morning I'd wake up alone now in my quiet house, wondering if he'd call. Every night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Brian's smirk. Lily's perfectly manicured hand resting on my countertop. My stolen money building their Mercer Crane Consulting, LLC dream. But the call finally came. Soph, Jared said. His voice was steady but low, serious. You've got him. Both of them. Dead to rights. I swallowed hard. My fingers gripped the phone tighter. Tell me. I found everything. Embezzlement from his previous employer, small amounts, but enough to fire him if they cared to press charges. Tax fraud on the new business. Misreporting income. Misusing corporate expense accounts. I closed my eyes. My chest burned. And Lily? I asked. He chuckled bitterly.
Worse.
She violated probation. Big time. Lied on the business registration, fake addresses, forged client contracts. And get this, she has an old sealed case from Arizona. Money laundering. I let the information settle like bricks stacking one by one. I've compiled a full report. Sent copies to the IRS, the State Attorney General's office, and the SEC, quietly. No names yet. But if you want this to go loud, Sophie, one call from me will bring federal heat on them within 24 hours. I smiled. For the first time in months, it was real. Strong.
Sweet.
I want it loud, Jared. I whispered. But not yet. A pause. What's your plan? Brian called me, I said. He wants to meet. Settle the divorce. No lawyers, just sign papers and go our separate ways. Jared laughed darkly. Poor bastard has no idea what's coming. Not a clue. I hung up.
Calm. Clean. Cold.
I wasn't the crying wife anymore. I was the executioner. We met at a coffee shop.
Bright. Public.
Neutral ground. Brian strolled in late, wearing that same smug half-smile he always wore when he thought he held all the cards. Hey, Soph, he said like nothing had happened, like he hadn't burned my life to the ground. Brian, I said, smiling as sweetly as I could. You brought the papers? He slid them across the table. Stapled. Fresh, from some cheap lawyer. I want this simple.
Quick.
No drama. I keep the business. The condo downtown. The car. You get the house, some cash, and you walk away. Clean break. I lifted the papers. Flipped through them slowly. His pen scratched against the table as he signed his name on the last page, pushing it toward me. Be smart, Soph, he said softly. Take the offer. You're not cut out for court. I'm trying to help you. I folded the papers carefully. Stacked them. Then I slid a small black flash drive across the table.
He stared at it.
What's this? He asked, frowning. Proof, I said. Of everything. Your stolen funds. The tax fraud. Lily's probation violation. The false business filings. The embezzlement. All tied to you.
To her.
To Mercer Crane Consulting, LLC. His face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. I leaned in closer. Tomorrow, Jared sends this to the Federal Fraud Division. To the IRS. To the Attorney General. Your licenses, your certifications, gone. Your career, over. Lily? They'll drag her back to prison before lunch.
And you?
Bankrupted.
Sued.
Probably disbarred from your own field. Sophie, he rasped, his hands curling into fists. I smiled wider. Unless you sign my papers. I slid my version across the table.
Fresh. Clean.
Simple. I take the condo, the car, the business, half your retirement account. You keep the house, since you're so eager for the quiet life I supposedly trapped you in. And then you disappear, Brian. You leave Columbus. You never speak my name again. His jaw twitched. You can't prove all this, he said tightly. I pushed a printed folder toward him. The same evidence on paper. Jared is good. And thorough. And the federal investigators love easy cases, Brian. This one's gift-wrapped. He stared at the folder. His shoulders slumped. You'd ruin me, he muttered. I held his gaze, steady as glass. You ruined yourself, Brian. I'm just cashing the check.
He signed. Silent. Pale.
His hand shaking.
It was done.
I stood, slipping the flash drive back into my purse. Say hello to Lily for me, I said softly. Next time you visit her in county lockup. He didn't look up. I walked out into the sun.
Free.
A month later, Lily was arrested.
Fraud.
Probation violation. Sentenced to 2 years without parole. Brian? Fired.
Disgraced.
Blacklisted in finance circles. Mercer Crane Consulting was mine. And I sold it. For $2.3 million to a hungry competitor who laughed when I told him the story. I bought a lakeside condo. Paid off the house. Started my design studio. Something I dreamed of when I was still the quiet, stay-at-home wife. I woke every morning without dread. I smiled without pretending. But the best moment? The day Brian called. From some cheap rental in Pittsburgh. I let the phone ring, then blocked his number. He left me for his secretary. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. The months that followed were quiet. Not in the broken, lonely way I feared, but in the way the air feels after a long, violent storm.
Still.
Crisp.
Clean.
I woke early every morning in my new condo by the lake, sunlight pouring across the white wood floors. I made coffee in my own kitchen, the kitchen I picked, designed, and owned. I sat by the window and watched the ripples on the water, while my phone stayed blissfully silent. No more texts from Brian. No more secrets. For the first time in 12 years, the only voice in my head was my own. I was free. And I was rich. The sale of Mercer Crane Consulting had gone through without a hitch. The buyer, a brutal little shark from Cleveland, had taken one look at the scandal-dripping company and grinned. Your ex left you a corpse, Sophie, he'd said, signing the check. But you? You're walking away with the gold teeth. I used part of the money to open my own design studio, something I dreamed about for years, but never dared to do while Brian handled the finances. Now it was mine. My name on the door. My rules. No more hiding. For weeks after, I thought maybe the story was over. Until the letter came. A thick, yellowed envelope in the mail one gray afternoon, addressed by hand. No return address. No stamp I recognized. I slid my thumb under the seal and pulled out a single folded page. The handwriting was sharp, precise, familiar. Lily Crane. From prison. You think you won, Sophie? You think you're free? You're not. You were never the enemy. Not to me. I was the pawn. He used me the way he used you. Brian never left you because of me. He was never leaving you for me. I was the distraction, the bait, to get you out, to make you angry, to make you walk away so he could have it all quietly. The house. Your father's inheritance. The land your family left you in Vermont. The things you forgot about, but he didn't. He paid me to play the part, Sophie. Paid me to get caught. I stared at the words. My stomach curled. But you played better, didn't you? You cut him out first. Faster than he expected. He wanted you broken. Crying. Ruined. He thought you'd fold and leave everything behind, run away small and defeated. You surprised him. You surprised me, too. But you shouldn't relax, Sophie. Brian doesn't lose. Not forever. He's waiting. Planning. You'll see. No signature. No closing. I set the paper down slowly. My fingers tingled. For a long moment, I sat at my table staring out at the lake, feeling the old knot of fear twist back into my chest. Could it be true? Had Brian used her to get to me? I thought back, his smugness that day in the coffee shop, the way he signed my papers so quickly after I gave him no choice. The letter from the inheritance lawyer I'd gotten weeks before, mentioning the old Vermont property my grandfather left me, the property Brian had pushed me to sell for years. Had he been trying to trick me into signing that away, too? Was it all bigger than I knew? I felt my stomach sink. But then something else rose, calm, steady. Let him try. Brian Mercer could plan.
Scheme.
Plot for the next 20 years. I was no longer the quiet wife folding laundry in the dark. I was the woman who took him apart piece by piece, who burned down his fake empire and walked away richer than she'd ever dared to dream. I stood, folded Lily's letter, and locked it in the safe under the bed, alongside the final evidence Jared gave me just in case. I changed the codes on my security system that night, called my lawyer the next day to double-check the Vermont land deeds, rewrote my will, let him watch from the shadows, let him wait, because this time I wouldn't be surprised. 6 months later I saw him, by accident, downtown Columbus, in line at a dingy little bank I barely recognized. He was thinner, hollow-cheeked, hair going gray at the edges. He held a cheap phone and shuffled papers with trembling hands. When he saw me, his face cracked, something between shame and fury flickering in his eyes. I smiled, just a little, and walked right past him, without a word. He was already forgotten. I went home to my studio, my lake, my life. And as the sun set, I made tea and stood by the window, thinking about how strange life is. He left me for his secretary. He thought he was breaking me, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And whatever Brian Mercer was planning, whatever lies Lily had whispered from her prison cell, I was ready. Because I wasn't the same woman anymore. I'd learned to burn. And I'd learned to win. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.